World War II was a conflict like no other, a cataclysm that engulfed nations across continents and forever altered the course of history. The sheer scale of the fighting, the number of countries involved, and the technological leaps made during this period set it apart from any war that had come before. It was a global struggle that redefined warfare in countless ways, introducing new strategies, weapons, and doctrines that would shape the future of armed conflict for generations. One of the most significant innovations of this era was the rise of the tank, a weapon that would forever change the face of battle. No longer a novelty from the First World War, tanks became the backbone of modern armies. Tanks were no longer just support vehicles relegated to assisting infantry advances. Instead, they became the spearhead of assaults, leading the charge into enemy territory and providing both firepower and protection for the troops that followed. They evolved into powerful, independent weapons, capable of spearheading offensives and breaking through enemy lines with devastating force. Their thick armor and heavy guns made them a terrifying presence on the battlefield. The importance of tanks in World War II, honestly, cannot be overstated. They became the centerpiece of military strategy, with entire campaigns planned around their use and deployment. They became the decisive factor in numerous battles, their presence often tipping the scales of victory or defeat. In the chaos of combat, the roar of tank engines and the thunder of their cannons could turn the tide in an instant. The early stages of the war saw the German Blitzkrieg, a lightning-fast form of mechanized warfare that relied heavily on the use of tanks. This new doctrine emphasized speed, surprise, and overwhelming force, catching many opponents off guard. The German panzers, as they were called, tore through enemy defenses, their speed and firepower seemingly unstoppable. These armored columns could bypass strong points, encircle enemy forces, and create chaos deep behind enemy lines. France, Poland, and other nations fell victim to this new form of warfare, their armies ill-equipped to counter the German tank onslaught. The world watched in shock as entire countries were overrun in a matter of weeks. The tank had proven itself as a force to be reckoned with, and its dominance on the battlefield was only just beginning. The lessons learned in these early campaigns would shape the development of armored warfare for the rest of the war. In response to the growing importance of tanks, nations on all sides of the conflict poured resources into developing and producing their own armored vehicles. Factories worked around the clock, churning out thousands of tanks in a desperate bid to keep up with the demands of modern warfare. The race was on to build bigger, better, and more powerful tanks, each vying for supremacy on the battlefield. Engineers and designers pushed the limits of technology, experimenting with new armor, weapons, and engines. From the heavily armored British Matildas, which earned a reputation for their resilience in the deserts of North Africa, to the versatile American Shermans, which became the workhorse of Allied armored forces and saw action on nearly every front, a wide array of tanks emerged, each with its own strengths and weaknesses. Some prioritized speed and maneuverability, while others focused on firepower or protection, reflecting the diverse challenges faced on different battlefields. Yet, amidst this clash of titans, one tank would rise above the rest, a machine that would come to symbolize the very essence of armored warfare, the Soviet T-34. Its combination of firepower, armor, and mobility would make it a legend, and its impact on the outcome of the war would be felt for decades to come. The T-34 tank emerged from the Soviet Union's ambitious drive to modernize its military forces during the turbulent 1930s. As tensions rose across Europe and the threat of war loomed ever larger, Soviet leaders recognized the urgent need to develop new armored vehicles that could match or surpass those of potential adversaries. Soviet military doctrine had long recognized the importance of tanks in future conflicts, and the T-34 was envisioned as a key element in the Red Army's armored might. The Soviets understood that mobility, firepower, and protection would be decisive on the modern battlefield, and they set out to create a tank that could deliver all three in abundance. Design work on the T-34 began in the early 1930s, led by a talented and determined team of engineers at the Kharkov locomotive factory in Ukraine. These engineers, many of whom had already worked on earlier Soviet tanks, brought together their experience and innovative thinking to tackle the challenges of modern armored warfare. They sought to create a tank that was both technologically advanced and easy to produce, a crucial consideration given the Soviet Union's vast but often strained industrial capacity. The design had to be robust enough to withstand the rigors of combat. yet simple enough to be manufactured quickly and in large numbers by a workforce that included many unskilled laborers. The T-34's design was revolutionary for its time, incorporating several innovative features that set it apart from its contemporaries. It was not just another tank, it was a leap forward in armored warfare, blending cutting-edge technology with practical battlefield needs. One of the most significant breakthroughs was the use of sloped armor. This concept, though simple in theory, was rarely implemented so effectively before the T-34. By angling the armor plates, the designers increased the effective thickness of the armor, making the tank much harder to penetrate. Unlike most tanks of the era, which featured boxy, upright designs, the T-34 boasted a revolutionary sloped armor scheme. This not only improved its defensive capabilities but also gave the tank a distinctive modern silhouette. The tank's hull and turret were designed with angled plates, which effectively increased the thickness of the armor without adding significant weight. This clever engineering allowed the T-34 to remain agile and fast while still offering superior protection to its crew. This sloped armor proved highly effective against enemy fire, causing incoming projectiles to glance off harmlessly or lose much of their penetrating power. In battle, this often meant the difference between survival and destruction for the tank and its crew. Another key element of the T-34's design was its wide tracks. These tracks were much broader than those found on most other tanks of the period, and they played a vital role in the tank's performance. Unlike the narrow tracks found on German tanks, which often struggled in mud and snow, the T-34's wide tracks provided exceptional off-road mobility. This allowed Soviet tank crews to operate in conditions that would have immobilized many other armored vehicles. This was a crucial advantage on the Eastern Front, where vast distances and harsh terrain were the norm. The ability to move quickly and reliably across mud, snow, and ice gave the Red Army a significant edge in both offense and defense. The T-34 could navigate through mud, snow, and rough terrain with relative ease, allowing it to outmaneuver its German counterparts and exploit breakthroughs in enemy lines. Its combination of innovative design, rugged construction, and battlefield adaptability would soon make it one of the most iconic and influential tanks of the Second World War. The T-34's armor and firepower represented a significant leap forward in tank design, setting a new standard for armored vehicles during World War II. When it first appeared on the battlefield, it shocked both friend and foe with its innovative features and battlefield performance. Its sloped armor, ranging from 45mm to 70mm thick, provided exceptional protection against most anti-tank weapons of its time. This design was revolutionary, as it allowed the T-34 to deflect incoming rounds more effectively than traditional flat armor, greatly increasing its survivability. This armor, combined with the tank's relatively low profile, made it a difficult target for enemy gunners. The T-34 could use the terrain to its advantage, exposing only a small silhouette while still being able to return fire with deadly accuracy. The sloped armor also had the added benefit of increasing the effective thickness of the plates, making them even more resistant to penetration. This meant that even when enemy shells struck the tank, they were more likely to ricochet off rather than punch through, saving countless crews from destruction. The T-34's primary armament was equally impressive, giving it the ability to take on a wide range of enemy targets, from infantry positions to heavily armored tanks. The initial models were armed with a 76.2mm gun, a powerful weapon capable of penetrating the armor of most German tanks at standard combat ranges. This gun was not only effective against enemy armor, but could also deliver high-explosive shells against fortifications and infantry. This gun gave the T-34 a decisive edge in firepower, allowing it to engage and destroy enemy tanks with relative ease. On the Eastern Front, it was not uncommon for T-34s to take on superior numbers of enemy vehicles and emerge victorious, thanks to their combination of firepower and protection. The combination of potent firepower and effective armor made the T-34 a formidable opponent on the battlefield, a tank that could both take a punch and deliver one in return. Its presence often boosted the morale of Soviet troops and struck fear into the hearts of its adversaries. The T-34 was also designed for mass production, allowing the Soviets to field thousands of these tanks. Its relatively simple construction meant it could be built quickly and repaired easily, keeping more tanks in the fight. The tank's crew of 4 played a vital role in its effectiveness. Each member had to be highly skilled and adaptable, as the fast-paced nature of armored warfare demanded quick thinking and seamless teamwork. The commander, gunner, loader and driver worked in concert to operate the tank, each man responsible for a crucial aspect of its performance. Communication and coordination were essential, especially during the chaos of battle. The cramped conditions inside the T-34 were challenging, but the crew's skill and determination were essential to maximizing the tank's combat potential. Despite the lack of comfort, Soviet crews learned to operate efficiently in these tight quarters, often forming close bonds with one another. The T-34 was not without its flaws, including a cramped interior and limited visibility for the commander. These issues sometimes made it difficult to spot enemy threats or coordinate with other tanks, especially in the heat of battle. Yet, the T-34's robust suspension and wide tracks allowed it to traverse difficult terrain, from deep mud to snow, where many other tanks would become bogged down or immobilized. However, its strengths in armor, firepower and mobility more than compensated for these shortcomings. The T-34 became a symbol of Soviet resilience and ingenuity, playing a pivotal role in turning the tide of the war on the Eastern Front.